Something has already begun moving beneath the surface, whether you recognize it yet or not. The coming 24 hours are not simply another routine astrological passage that fades as quickly as it appears. You are standing at the threshold of an exceptionally rare sequence of celestial movements whose timing is so exact and whose transformational force is so concentrated that the lives of 3 particular zodiac signs are being redirected in ways that will not easily be reversed. The most astonishing part is that this process did not begin the moment you pressed play. It was already set in motion hours earlier, quietly gathering momentum while many people continued their day without realizing that an invisible turning point had already arrived. Today, July 5th, Mars reaches an exact trine with Pluto, creating what many describe as a true power portal. This is not merely symbolic language or an abstract spiritual metaphor. It is the precise geometric relationship between the planet associated with action, courage, and primal momentum, and the planetary force connected with profound transformation, hidden power, and complete rebirth. Because this perfect trine unfolds through the air signs, 3 zodiac signs become the primary receivers of this extraordinary current. Yet there is one essential aspect of this alignment that remains largely overlooked, and misunderstanding that hidden piece could cause you to completely misinterpret the emotional, mental, and spiritual changes already unfolding inside your own life. We will uncover that crucial detail later because it changes the entire meaning of what this portal truly represents. Before then, pay attention to your own experience. If throughout the last 48 hours you have felt an unusual current running through your body as though invisible electricity were flowing beneath your skin, if your thoughts have accelerated beyond the pace of your physical energy, or if your nervous system has seemed strangely alert without any obvious explanation, there is a very specific reason for those sensations. They are not disconnected events. They are directly linked to the sequence unfolding today. To fully understand why, however, you first need to recognize that the true beginning of this story did not occur on July 5th. It began on July 4th, and that earlier moment served as the ignition point that launched everything now unfolding before you. Many people mistakenly believe that today marks the entire event, yet the reality is far more fascinating. The first wave had already been released. Earlier on July 4th, Mars formed an exact conjunction with Uranus in Gemini. Pause for a moment and appreciate the significance of that combination. Mars represents raw initiative, decisive movement, instinctive courage, and the relentless urge to push beyond limitations. Uranus embodies sudden disruption, revolutionary breakthroughs, unexpected awakenings, technological innovation, and the destruction of anything that has become predictable or stagnant. Their exact conjunction occurred within Gemini, the sign governing thought, communication, language, learning, perception, and the very framework through which human beings interpret reality itself. This was never intended to be a gentle or subtle influence. It resembles the immense surge created when lightning strikes directly into an electrical network, instantly sending waves of power throughout every connected circuit. If your day brought an unexpected conversation that shifted your perspective, if an idea appeared with such intensity that it seemed to arrive from somewhere beyond ordinary thinking, or if a realization pierced through old assumptions with startling clarity, you were likely experiencing the energetic signature of Mars and Uranus restructuring the architecture of your own mind. Perhaps you awoke sensing that something invisible had already changed. Maybe the atmosphere itself felt strangely alive. Your imagination refused to slow down, or your thoughts began traveling in entirely unfamiliar directions. It is also possible that a simple exchange of words suddenly carried enormous consequences, leaving you with the unmistakable feeling that nothing would remain quite the same afterward. Those experiences were not random coincidences. They reflected the first shockwave arriving exactly when it was meant to. Yet the conjunction itself was never the final destination. Its true purpose was to begin a larger process. Mars continues moving rapidly, covering the distance between Uranus and Pluto in approximately 31 hours. That means the disruptive force released during the conjunction is not disappearing. Instead, it is being gathered, compressed, redirected, and carried straight into today's exact trine with Pluto. What first appeared as instability, interruption, or uncertainty now becomes the very energy that fuels deep transformation. The apparent disorder was never meaningless. It served as preparation. It supplied the momentum necessary for something far more powerful to emerge. As you move from the explosive awakening initiated through Uranus toward the profound empowerment represented by Pluto, there is another stage hidden between those two events, one that many people will overlook because they remain focused only on dramatic external changes. Tonight, Mars forms a sextile with Neptune in Aries, creating the bridge that connects disruption with purpose. This subtle alignment becomes the space where restless, unpredictable energy is refined into something wiser and more meaningful. Neptune gradually softens the sharp edges left behind by the earlier shock. Instead of expressing itself only through urgency or force, the same energy begins transforming into intuition, imagination, inner vision, and a deeper form of understanding that cannot be reached through logic alone. Rather than demanding that you think harder, this influence invites you to trust what quietly rises from within. If, during the evening, you notice yourself drifting into an unusual state that feels suspended somewhere between waking awareness and dreaming, do not assume you are simply tired. You may feel as though your mind has become unusually open, your emotions unusually receptive, or your heart unexpectedly certain about something you could not previously explain. In that space, insight often arrives without effort. A vivid image may appear. A quiet certainty may settle into your chest. An unmistakable inner voice may gently reveal the direction you have been searching for. When that moment comes, resist the temptation to dismiss it as imagination, because this bridge exists for a reason. And what reveals itself there may become the very key that allows everything unfolding through today's extraordinary alignments to finally make sense. Ignore the urge to explain it away, or convince yourself that it is nothing more than an overactive imagination, because the message reaching you deserves your attention. What has been quietly unfolding within you is not an illusion created by stress or coincidence. That subtle inner signal is preparing you for the doorway that opens this morning, and everything leading up to this point has been laying the foundation for what happens next. This is the moment where the entire sequence reaches a completely different level. Today, on July 5th at 9 o'clock in the morning, Mars, positioned at 4 degrees and 46 minutes in Gemini, forms an exact trine with Pluto at 4 degrees and 46 minutes in Aquarius. At that precise instant, an energetic pathway is established between your conscious determination and the deepest force of transformation represented anywhere within the solar system. On the surface, a trine is simply a 120-degree angle, a matter of celestial geometry. Yet in astrology, that geometry represents effortless cooperation. It symbolizes a flow without resistance, where momentum is no longer interrupted by internal conflict or external obstacles. Instead of feeling pulled between your own intentions and the direction life seems to demand from you, both begin moving together with astonishing accuracy. It can feel almost unsettling because the longing rising inside your heart and the path your life is meant to follow suddenly appear to become one and the same. Few astrological aspects possess the reputation carried by a Mars Trine Pluto alignment. When these two planetary forces operate together instead of challenging one another, they awaken a level of inner strength that many individuals never consciously experience throughout an entire lifetime. This is not the loud, reckless determination driven by anger or impulsiveness. Neither is it chaotic ambition fueled by desperation. It is something far quieter and infinitely more powerful. It is the calm certainty that your purpose has become unmistakably clear, accompanied by an unwavering confidence that nothing standing before you possesses enough strength to divert you from it. Yet even this extraordinary partnership between Mars and Pluto tells only part of the story. Hidden behind today's alignment lies a far larger celestial design, one that remains invisible to most observers because they focus only on individual transits instead of recognizing the greater architecture connecting them. Earlier, there was mention of one overlooked detail that changes everything about how this moment should be understood. This is that missing piece. The exact trine between Mars and Pluto does not exist independently. Instead, it serves as the activation point for a geometric formation that has been gradually assembling across the heavens for more than a year. At this very moment, 3 of the slowest and most influential outer planets are linked together through an interconnected triangular configuration. Uranus stands at approximately 4 degrees Gemini. Neptune occupies 4 degrees Aries. Pluto remains at 4 degrees Aquarius. Notice how remarkably close those degree placements are. The planet associated with revolution and unexpected breakthroughs, the planet connected with spiritual vision and transcendence, and the planet governing complete transformation and profound rebirth have aligned themselves into an exceptionally precise pattern that appears only a limited number of times within an entire century. Astrologers identify this arrangement as a minor grand trine, while others have long referred to it as the magic triangle, because of the unique harmony created when these immense planetary influences support one another simultaneously. The significance becomes even greater because Neptune is preparing to station retrograde on July 7th. During the period immediately before a station, a planet appears almost motionless from Earth's perspective. Right now, Neptune is essentially holding its position at 4 degrees Aries, concentrating its symbolism with unusual intensity. Rather than progressing rapidly through the zodiac, it remains fixed, radiating its strongest spiritual influence directly into this already remarkable triangular structure. As Mars advanced across the 4th degree of Gemini today, it did far more than establish a relationship with Pluto alone. Its movement energized every point within that larger configuration. Imagine introducing a single spark into an environment already saturated with stored potential. The result is not the activation of one isolated influence, but the simultaneous awakening of every connected component. Suddenly, revolution through Uranus, vision through Neptune, and transformation through Pluto begin operating together as one synchronized current. This is precisely why today's atmosphere feels so much larger than a single transit should reasonably produce. Your body may already recognize that something extraordinary is taking place, even while your logical mind struggles to describe it. That sensation is not evidence of imagination running wild. The intensity has an identifiable geometric origin within the sky itself. There is another layer to this acceleration that explains why your mental world may seem almost impossible to slow down. At present, every one of the slower outer planets has moved away from the grounding influence traditionally associated with Earth and water signs. Uranus now occupies an air sign. Pluto also resides within an air sign. Neptune has entered a fire sign. Jupiter likewise travels through a fire sign. The collective atmosphere therefore lacks the slower, denser qualities that normally encourage patience, stability, and gradual development. Instead, the dominant elements encourage movement, inspiration, thought, and rapid expansion. It can feel as though the natural braking system has temporarily disappeared. Ideas emerge one after another before you have finished examining the previous one. Your nervous system attempts to keep pace with the stream of possibilities, arriving faster than it comfortably can. Conversations seem charged with unusual significance, and every sentence carries greater emotional and intellectual impact than expected. Information reaches you with remarkable speed, demanding immediate interpretation instead of allowing time for quiet reflection. Mars, traveling through Gemini, amplifies this process even further. Under this influence, the mind becomes exceptionally active, alert, and responsive. Language grows more precise, opinions become more decisive, and communication gains unusual force. At its lower expression, this could produce sharper disagreements or more intense verbal exchanges. Yet its highest potential points somewhere entirely different. It offers the remarkable capacity to absorb new information quickly, adapt to changing circumstances without hesitation, and respond with a level of mental agility that may surprise even you. If recent days have left you feeling as though your thoughts refuse to rest, if moments of astonishing insight alternate with periods of complete mental overload, or if your awareness shifts rapidly between brilliant certainty and overwhelming stimulation, there is a meaningful reason behind those experiences, and understanding that reason becomes essential before the next stage of this extraordinary sequence reveals itself. What you have been experiencing is not evidence that something inside you is malfunctioning. The discomfort, the relentless mental activity, the emotional intensity, none of it points toward failure. It points toward expansion. Imagine trying to receive a signal your mind has never encountered before. At first, it feels overwhelming because the system receiving it is transforming as it works. That is exactly what is happening now. Your inner landscape is restructuring itself so it can contain a level of awareness that previously existed beyond its reach. As today's portal reaches its fullest expression, that transformation settles into place, becoming part of who you are, rather than simply something you are passing through. Yet there is an important contradiction hidden inside this extraordinary moment, and understanding it will determine whether this energy becomes a catalyst for lasting change or simply another powerful experience that slips away. Mars is traveling through Gemini, but Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is currently retrograde as it moves backward through Cancer, the sign connected with memory, emotional foundations, family history, and the patterns carried from one chapter of life into the next. Mercury remains retrograde until July 23rd. That detail changes everything. It means the incredible forward momentum generated by Mars is inseparably connected to unfinished emotional territory from your past. You are being invited to move ahead, but not by pretending your history never happened. Instead, the universe asks you to approach the future while carrying complete honesty about everything that still lives within you. The opportunity is real. The strength is available. The doorway truly stands open. But before crossing it, you are being asked to face every unresolved feeling that still holds a place inside your heart. Recognize it without resistance, and consciously decide to release it. If unexpected memories have been surfacing throughout this week, if conversations you believed were long forgotten continue replaying inside your mind, if people from years ago have appeared in dreams, or if sudden waves of longing, sadness, or nostalgia have risen without any obvious connection to your present circumstances, there is a reason. Mercury retrograde in Cancer is drawing hidden emotional roots back into the light. It is not delaying your transformation. It is making sure that transformation becomes genuine. Lasting breakthroughs cannot be constructed on emotional wounds that remain ignored. Otherwise, the future simply becomes another version of the same repeating cycle, only moving at greater speed. Those who benefit most from this portal will not be the ones attempting to silence difficult emotions. They will be the individuals courageous enough to embrace the excitement of what lies ahead, while simultaneously honoring the grief, uncertainty, or vulnerability carried from what came before. Holding both realities at the same time becomes the true initiation offered by this remarkable window. For Gemini, the intensity reaches an entirely different level. If your sun, moon, or rising sign is Gemini, The center of this extraordinary pattern rests directly upon you. Mars and Uranus are both moving through your first house, activating your physical presence, your identity, your confidence, and the very way you introduce yourself to the world. At the same time, they create an exact trine to Pluto in your ninth house, the area associated with higher wisdom, belief systems, personal philosophy, and the deeper truths through which you define your existence. The version of yourself that entered this week is no longer capable of sharing space with the person you are becoming. That transition has already begun. You have probably noticed it in subtle yet undeniable ways. A growing impatience with limitations that once seemed acceptable. An increasing refusal to remain inside situations, relationships, or identities that no longer reflect your expanding sense of self. A quiet realization that the life you previously accepted has become too small for the future calling your name. The conjunction between Mars and Uranus in your own sign represents one of the most electrifying influences available in astrology. It strikes directly at the foundation of your identity, forcing rapid awakening where comfort once existed. Yet the exact trine to Pluto reveals that this disruption is neither random nor destructive for its own sake. Every shift serves a larger purpose, connected to the profound transformation that has been unfolding ever since Pluto entered Aquarius. Your greatest opportunity arrives through complete authenticity, not the carefully adjusted version of yourself designed to meet everyone else's expectations, not the endlessly adaptable personality that changes shape to preserve harmony. Instead, this transit asks for the part of you that speaks with honesty before calculating whether others will approve. It calls forward the version of yourself capable of walking away from what has already ended, instead of remaining loyal to something that no longer carries life. Meanwhile, Mercury retrograde, moving through your second house, places one final lesson before you. Before this new identity can fully emerge, an outdated story about your own value must come to an end. Every belief that encouraged you to diminish your gifts, remain agreeable at the expense of your truth, or settle for less than your authentic worth, is reaching its conclusion. Allow that old narrative to dissolve completely. The identity that rises afterward may feel unfamiliar even to you, but that unfamiliarity is the unmistakable sign that genuine transformation has finally taken place. Aquarius now enters its own defining chapter. Pluto continues its profound journey through your first house, steadily dismantling every identity that no longer reflects your deepest truth. You have already felt this process working beneath the surface. Old defenses, emotional detachment, carefully constructed roles, and identities built more upon intellectual distance than authentic personal authority have gradually been stripped away. Pluto has been reshaping you from the inside outward, removing every layer that prevented your true power from emerging. Today, Mars and Uranus, moving together through your fifth house of creativity, romance, self-expression, and personal joy, form an exact trine with Pluto in your own sign. This alignment represents the moment when everything you have been rebuilding internally begins finding an outlet in the external world. The universe is not simply encouraging your growth, it is placing responsibility directly into your hands. The creative awakening arriving now is not abstract or theoretical. It demands embodiment. It asks you to express yourself without hesitation, to create without apology, and to allow the transformation already taking place within your soul to become visible through the way you live, love, and bring your unique gifts into the world. For Aquarius, this awakening refuses to remain hidden beneath the surface. You may discover an almost unstoppable desire to build something meaningful, to finally give shape to an idea that has been waiting in silence, or to step toward an opportunity that once felt too intimidating to pursue. The impulse may seem unusually intense, even difficult to explain logically, yet it carries a purpose that reaches far beyond temporary excitement. A creative vision that has existed only in your imagination may suddenly demand tangible expression. A connection that once lived comfortably in the realm of possibility may transform into something deeply emotional and impossible to ignore. The part of yourself that has spent years standing safely behind communities, shared ideals, or intellectual distance begins emerging with unmistakable confidence. No longer content to exist as an observer or a voice within the crowd, it insists on being recognized as an individual presence with genuine influence. The exact trine between Mars and Pluto provides the determination required to sustain this emergence. This is not the brief enthusiasm that appears one day and disappears the next. It is a profound inner force, rooted in unwavering conviction, a drive that continues moving forward, regardless of obstacles or approval. There is no hesitation inside this energy. It does not pause to negotiate with fear, nor does it seek validation before taking action. The long process of letting old versions of yourself dissolve has already taken place. What arrives today is the moment where new life begins rising from everything that previously seemed lost. For Libra, the experience unfolds differently, but with equal significance. You become the point where the larger geometric pattern reaches completion. Although Gemini and Aquarius contain the primary transiting planets, the harmonious trine extends toward you from both directions, placing Libra at the place where these powerful currents seek equilibrium. Yet this balance does not resemble the version you have known in the past. Instead, it challenges you to completely redefine what genuine balance truly means. Mars and Uranus activate your ninth house, illuminating belief systems, philosophy, personal growth, and the expansion of your understanding. At the same time, Pluto continues working through your fifth house, the area governing joy, creativity, heartfelt self-expression, and the courage to live authentically. Together, these influences deliver an unmistakable message. The old strategy of preserving harmony by sacrificing your own truth has reached its conclusion. Peace itself is not the problem. The problem has been the version of peace built upon silence compromise, that ignored your own needs, agreement offered when your heart wanted to refuse, smiles presented while frustration remained hidden beneath the surface, and the repeated habit of protecting everyone else's comfort while quietly abandoning your own authenticity. Through today's Mars-Pluto trine, something you have needed for far longer than you realized finally becomes available. You receive the courage to speak with complete honesty, to establish the boundary you have avoided because of fear, and to leave behind situations that appeared beautiful from the outside, while steadily draining your spirit behind closed doors for months, or perhaps even years. At the same time, Saturn and Neptune continue their retrograde movement through your seventh house of partnerships, requiring a profound karmic review of every meaningful relationship within your life. You are invited to examine who remains beside you, the reasons those connections continue, and whether they are sustained by genuine love or by familiar routine. You are encouraged to ask whether true closeness exists or whether fear of loneliness has quietly become the invisible foundation holding certain relationships together. The portal opening today does not simply provide answers to those questions. It provides the inner strength necessary to respond honestly and to follow those answers with meaningful action, free from unnecessary guilt. Your breakthrough arrives through the realization that authentic harmony has never depended upon avoiding uncomfortable conversations. Real peace begins the moment truth is allowed to exist without disguise. Once that truth is finally expressed, everything that has remained stagnant begins moving again with remarkable momentum. As extraordinary as today's opening may feel, it is essential to understand that its influence does not disappear when the day comes to an end. The exact trine between Mars and Pluto serves as the ignition point, yet the larger minor grand trine formed by Uranus, Neptune and Pluto continues remaining active for months ahead. The doorway opening now does not immediately close. Instead, the opportunities awakened during this period continue unfolding throughout the remainder of the summer, extending into the fall and beyond. Even so, the choices made during the next 48 hours possess unusual significance because they establish the direction this momentum will continue following. The path you consciously choose now becomes the path this remarkable current continues strengthening. For that reason, awareness matters more than ever. Such concentrated energy should never be expressed carelessly. Mars, aligned harmoniously with Pluto, grants access to extraordinary determination, capable of accomplishing what once appeared impossible. Yet that same determination carries enough force to damage everything standing before it if exercised without mindfulness toward its consequences. Remain connected to yourself. Stay fully present. Allow every memory and unresolved emotion that Mercury retrograde in Cancer has brought to the surface to receive your attention, your compassion, and finally, your release. Permit the conjunction with Uranus to dismantle whatever no longer deserves a place within your future. Welcome the sextile with Neptune as it quietly reveals the deeper vision guiding your next chapter. Then, when today's exact trine with Pluto reaches its fullest strength during the morning, move through that opening with complete awareness rather than hesitation. There is one final reality worth remembering. Alignments of this magnitude do not appear during an ordinary lifetime. The last occasion when these outer planets occupied this same precise geometric relationship across air and fire signs occurred generations ago. You happen to be living during the rare period when the larger framework of the future is being assembled, and today's choices determine how your own contribution becomes part of that unfolding design. Do not allow fear, uncertainty, or attachment to an outdated identity to persuade you that remaining where you are is safer than embracing transformation. The portal now stands open. The power available through it is genuine, and it will continue moving forward whether anyone chooses to follow or not. Thank you for spending this time here and sharing this remarkable journey. If this message resonated with you and you would like to continue exploring future astrological insights together, consider subscribing to the channel. Your encouragement means more than you know. I also invite you to leave your experiences and reflections in the comments, because your story may inspire someone else walking through the same extraordinary season. Until we meet again, take good care of yourself and stay connected for more journeys into the wisdom written across the stars.